there is a topic I do want to discuss with you, which is, I think it's so important and it's something I'm trying to figure out. And it's not just content, it's life, it's relationships, and everything, is the art of falling back in love. Because the same way I talked about supply and demand, the more you have of something, the less it's worth from an audience perspective. I think that's a big reason people get burnt out in their work. Because if I just started podcasts this year, then it's new, it's exciting for me. But when I'm on episode 1,000, and I've been doing it for 10 years, to me, podcasts, supply and demand, I have 1,000 episodes of podcasts in my life, so therefore, they're prospectively worth less. Does that mean I should quit? No. Well, let's put it relationship-wise. What if I marry someone the first year, honeymoon, great. 10 years in, I've spent, 5,000 days with that person? Therefore, prospectively, it's not as exciting, new, or refreshing. Does that mean we should divorce? No. So it's like this art of falling back in love. It's something I'm obsessed with. And I don't know too much. Like, I hope to develop a really good answer of how to do so, but it's just something I'm so curious. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that, what you had talked about with, let's say, finding a partner and you get married. I'm not married. I don't have any specific perspective on that, but I do think that I can relate to that experience that many people have where you have the honeymoon phase at the beginning. It's super exciting. And you can use that as an analogy for the other things. So honeymoon phase, super exciting. It's new, all this, opportunity. There's also uncertainty. It's very interesting. And then there comes a time where, maybe it becomes a little stale or there's some roadblocks or whatever it may be. I think that it's important to fall in love with the process. And when I say that, I mean your relationship with people, your relationship with your work, it is ever changing and it's always growing. Yeah. And I think being in a place of wanting to grow and improve upon the things that you can control is a sustainable way to continue to, really love what you do and love the people around you. Because if we talk about content, the issue at hand with trying to control how the audience is going to respond, I can do everything in my power from my personal knowledge and what I'm learning every day in order to try and make sure that let's say if the goal of the YouTuber is that the video performs and it gets tons of views, I can do that. But at the same time, I have to know that if the video does not get the views that we projected, at the very least, this video was better than the last video. There are specific things that you want to improve on from the last video or the last 10 videos that you could do better, and you intentionally worked at that and made sure that in your eyes it's an improvement and you're growing. So as long as that's happening in the long run, you will stay invested in what you're doing, but also, that is another measure of success. And a lot of the time it's very hard to look at one video to the next. But have you ever gone, let's say you could even do this with your camera roll. If you go back in your camera roll, like couple years and think about where you were with your headspace about, life and what your goals were and your understanding of things. And that kind of gives you perspective, like, oh my gosh, like it's insane if you stick to something like that over time or just have faith in the fact that you're going to continue to grow and learn. And that is it's a lot easier to see the miles and miles that you've come from the beginning. So I think it's just important to to stay on the path of continual growth, really.
Growth, like always learning. I think something that came to my mind that I remembered or recalled as you were speaking is the idea of potential. I think whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be your work or whatever, I think a huge mistake people make is they fall in love with potential. So they go, oh, I could have 1 million subscribers, and that dream of 1 million subscribers keeps them going. And we know, even scientifically, they've proved that people are happier pursuing a goal than they are achieving a goal. And so it's like, it's so easy to like dream of how the video is going to perform, or how your partner's going to look, or how the relationship will be. But then when you get there, it's a disappointment. And so, but on the other hand, you want potential to be like, you want your potential to be a selling point. So when I'm selling to the audience, I don't want them to just think they're watching me now. I want them to think that one day I'm going to be a big podcaster and I'm going to have a huge audience and that I'm going to get these big guests on. I want them to believe in me the way I believe in me. But as for myself, I don't want to fall in love with potential. I want to fall in love with the process and with who I am. And that was even a mistake I made with my last girlfriend, where I'm so like addicted to like self-help and all this stuff that I was like, here, do this, like trying to like change her, where instead of just being like grateful for who she was and like enjoying the process. And so that's something like I'm really trying to apply to relationships, but even YouTube and content as well, is just like, don't fall in love with someone's potential. Like fall in love with, meet them right where they're at and like enjoy the journey together.
Yeah. The old saying that it's not about the destination.
Yeah.
It's about the journey. Yeah. And you could also say that, you know, with the journey comes all the experiences and the growing. So yeah, it all comes together. Even
like when you said in the very beginning, like your audience grows with you. I think about people who've been on YouTube forever. So let's take the Paul brothers. Like Jake Paul and Logan Paul, I can't tell you how relevant they are based on views. Like, I don't know. I'm sure at one point they were more popping than they are now. I don't really know. They don't feel like they fall off. They feel like they've been around forever. But like since Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they've both done vlogging. They both have a podcast. They both have their own companies now. They both box, fight professionally. It's like they've gone through so many stages, and I don't know the many details of how like relevant they are, if they're doing better or the worse, but they've lived through many phases in many life, and they still have an audience. They still have fan bases, and it's like it is kind of freeing to think about that. And it's like I don't have to put all my like eggs into podcasting or vlogging, and I can grow, and it's okay to embrace change, and my audience will grow with me, and that is something that's big.